thing I need to do though is to see if you can see, I'm about to share, and you let me know if you can see a couple of staffs.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
All right, now let me go ahead and flip this over. We are back in business. This is a perfectly fine way to do it, although I prefer the other way. But that is not going to work. So I have drawn a treble clef. Have you, can you see that?
Yes.
All right, so hopefully G minor, you came up with two flats. And on your worksheet, you have the key of D minor, so we will do both. So one of the things that I noticed in the worksheets is that there was some people had confusion in that they look at two flats or one flat, and they really, really want to believe that there is, that's a major key signature. So for every one of the key signatures, there's two possible keys, major or minor. This would be B flat major, but we are not doing the B flat major scale. We're going to do its relative G minor. And the same was down here. There were some people who really wanted this to be F major, but there were some people who saw that because the scale started on D, they really wanted this to be D major. And they just weren't locking their brain into the idea that, no, that is D minor. D major uses two sharps. F major does use one flat, but it starts on F as the tonic. It's the relative D minor. So that's the first thing that happened, is just people fighting the key signature and not knowing which scale they're in. So here is a G minor scale going up, and here is a G minor scale going down. And you don't have to put a lot of thought into that. Woo! I'm going to do this very messily. Here we go. All right, now the challenge was to alter these to be them harmonic minor. And like I said, some people first got off on a really bad foot and started labeling these notes as if they were B flat major, and then they had no idea what to do to make these major or minor harmonic or melodic. So that wasn't the solution. And some people, 1 second, I can't even see my pen here. There we go. Some people thought, okay, it's G, but it must be G major, and they started labeling these as if they were major. So a lot of strange little answers like this, but this is G minor, and here come the notes: G, A, B flat, because there's two flats, C, D, E flat, F, and G. And then going down, F, E flat, D, C, B flat, A, and G. Now, let's go ahead and make this harmonic minor. So who's going to chime in first? What is the note that needs to be altered to make this F, G harmonic minor? I kind of gave it away.
F.
F, exactly. Right now, F to G is a whole step. That's te to do. And that's going to create problems for the minor. It's just not the same kind of stabilizing way of approaching the tonic. And so we're going to make it one chromatic semitone higher. It is now F sharp. For whatever reason, the harmonic minor is always the same going up as down. And there you hear that yada, that pull of the half step. But you're also hearing that very wide distance of E flat to F sharp. E flat, F sharp, G, F sharp, E flat, D, C, B flat. So the melodic minor smooths out that very strange augmented second, extra special wide stepwise motion. And it does it by also raising, what's the next scale degree we raise? Because now we have T to do, but between lay and T is a very odd step. So we also raise which scale degree? What note? Who can chime in first? Drum roll. Well, F has been raised to F sharp. Now for the melodic minor, we're also going to raise
E.
E. So we're right now on E flat. Now, what have I done wrong?
You sharped it. You should just natural it.
Exactly. It doesn't call for a sharp to raise it yet. We're on an E flat. So first it has to go to E natural. And now that has raised it to E natural. And now that is law. And now that is a whole step. That's a half step. That's a whole step. It's nice and smooth. E, F sharp, G, but it also sounds like G major at the top. D, E, E, F sharp, G. So on the way down, the melodic minor always goes back to where it was. And we often will write courtesy accidentals. So I'm going to clean this up for you for just a moment. So we're always going to use little courtesy accidentals. F natural, E flat. It goes back to the way it was. And now it's back to the natural minor. That's the whole half. So la ti do was E natural, F sharp, and then F natural, E flat. So just to be very clear, and it will sound like this. So on the way up, starting on D, D, E natural, F sharp, G, F natural, E flat, D, da 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 da, da 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 da. And you can hear that it's actually da 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 da. It's very melodic, smooth, and gives you that da da half step motion to get into the tonic. Ya da 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 da. So that's the melodic minor. So the same thing would happen in D minor. This would become, for melodic minor, we need B natural, C sharp, and then on the way down, we put the C natural and the B flat back in. So you always see that action going on there. Now, we're going to go back to just the harmonic minor. So in the harmonic minor, I'm pushing the wrong button because I don't have my reading glasses and I can't actually see which button to push on the pen. All right, so we're going to go just to the harmonic minor, just ascending. And here we go. So in the harmonic minor, there are 3 chords. Whoops, where did it go? All right, you still see a staff, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it's
Okay. Yeah, I have no idea where the other one went. So here we go. So G harmonic minor, we'll do it very quickly, get those answers back up there. We are only going to, the chords that are going to be affected are the 3, the 5, and the 7 chord. Now, when we use just F natural, again, I'm going to get rid of that sharp. This is the quality of chords we have. The 3 chord is going to be B flat, D, and F. That is a B flat major chord. All 3 chords in the minor mode are major. They're one of the color codes, chords that change the color from the tonic chord, which is minor. The 3 chord is one of those contrasting colors of a major chord. The 5 chord, and I'm going to write it down in this register, doesn't really matter which register I do it in, will be D minor when it uses te, F natural. And I'm going to go ahead and put parentheses around that F natural. And then if we have the 7 chord built on F, it's F, A, and C, and that's a C major chord. And you can see there is the F, and that's a major chord. And it's another one of our color chords. It'll be major. And this is the minor dominant with te. Now, when we do the harmonic minor and we put in F sharp, the quality of these chords are going to change because they all 3 involve the F natural, and now they're all going to become F sharp. And a lot of you did not put in.
Sorry, Professor.
Yes.
Sorry, the 7. You said the 7th is C. The C minor.
It should be F major. Why did I say C? There we go. Is your brain back? That should make your brain happy now. It's an F major chord. There we go. So now that that is an F sharp up there, this is no longer a major chord, it is augmented. And if we sharpen the F here, it is no longer, this is now a B flat augmented chord. This is now a D major chord. And its Roman numeral shows that it is, the pen is, I really need my reading glasses. I'm having to take my glasses on and off to see where the little button I need to push on the pen is. So that's now changed to G major. And this is the one that gets people the most freaked out. The 7 chord changes its quality. There it goes. To a diminished. And a lot of people then want to really overthink this chord, and they're like, how do I make that diminished? There is only one alteration we are doing, and that is we're changing F to F sharp. And the only reason we're doing it is so that we have a leading tone. And the chord's root has changed to F sharp, and that's now an F sharp diminished chord. So whenever you have these alternative chords, you should see 2 things. One, you should see that wherever there was a te in that chord, that's now a T, and that means it will have an accidental next to it, either a sharp or a natural, depending on what the original note was in the scale. In this case, it needed to be a sharp. Sometimes it'll just need to be a natural to negate a flat that's in the key signature. There are some rare cases where we use a double sharp. We'll talk about those later. And then the other thing that has to happen is the quality of those chords change. So from B flat major, we now have B augmented, from D minor to D major, and from F major to F sharp diminished. And we therefore have to change the Roman numerals. When we did it in our one in D minor, the 3 chord would normally be an F major chord, but then when we add C sharp, which is the leading tone in D minor, we get the 3 chord that's and it's an F augmented chord. When we had the 5 chord, it was A, C, and E. It is the C sharp that we need, and now it's an A major chord. And when it was the 7 chord, it was a C major chord. That's probably where I was thinking C major. When we do C sharp, it's now it's a C sharp diminished, and that is what it is. So you're always looking for that tone that has been affected, and that's changing the quality of the chords. Now, it's very unusual that we would use the augmented 3 chord because that's one of our color chords, the chord that is designed to change the mode from the minor to the major. In other words, if we're in G minor, when you hear B flat major, it's this beautiful change to a major color, back to the minor, G minor, B flat major, G minor, B flat major. You hear how beautiful that is. So we don't really have a need to alter the 3 chord. But remember, the 5 and the 7 chords are the chords that we use in cadences. And they like to go back to the tonic chord. And the whole point of a cadence is to make the ending of the phrase feel like you've come back to a sense of closure on the tonic. And these are chords where it's very important to have the leading tone, because the leading tone will make that cadence, what is the word? Any cadence that uses the 5 with a leading tone to 1 or a 7 to a leading tone to 1. 1 is a leading tone substitute, but both are known as, who remembers the term?
Authentic.
Authentic cadence, exactly. If we don't have the leading tone, and we use the natural te, you still have a cadence, but anyone remember what that's called?
Sorry, you're saying if you're not in the minor?
Correct. Let's say we're in G minor. Gosh, keeps on going away. Say you're in G minor. I'll put the 2 choices up. You can either have 5 to 1, and there's your te. Or you can have 5 to 1. There's your leading tone. With that leading tone, this is an authentic cadence. Without it, this is known as a what kind of cadence?
Modal.
Modal cadence, exactly. So here's how it sounds. Here is the authentic cadence with the leading tone. And you can hear how that leading tone, da-da, pulls you in. Here's that same chord, but with te. And it doesn't have the same sense of pull, but it does have a very strong modal minor color to it. So it's not as good for closure, but it's very good for setting a dark minor tone. Thus, it's called a modal cadence versus the leading tone alteration, which gives you that authentic pull back to the tonic.
Would you say it has more tension than the first one, and the first one has more release?
The authentic cadence will have more tension because of the F sharp to G creates what we call a tendency tone, a very strong need for F sharp to go to G. So I would say that one has the highest degree of tension, release. The other one just has a sense of dark minor, dark minor, dark minor. You can hear it. It's a much more calm, but yet.
Okay, yeah, got you. Yeah, the piano's just a little soft, but I can hear it now.
Oh yeah, sorry. I can try and.
No, don't do anything. Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it.
Sometimes then the piano sounds like it's underwater. It'll be very nice one day to be back in a real classroom with a real piano. So that's, you might want to take a look at your worksheet that I sent back to you and see the D minor scale. Did you get the melodic and harmonic spelled right? Did you alter the chords right? Those are things to kind of observe. All right, so what I want to do though is we're going to go and, here, I'll do it this way. We had some chord towers was the next part of your assignments to do, or it was one of your assignments to do, and we'll go ahead and, kind of self-correct. And I had the ones where you had to figure out a chord tower based on E major and then E minor, and you had to put it in these different models. So we're going to do model A first. And we know that the chord tower is a system you can use if you're not quite comfortable thinking in just the staff, but I'll show you another way. I'll show you other ways of doing it where you can do it directly on the staff without the chord tower. So the first thing I'm going to do is G sharp and B are the other notes of E major. And in this chord tower, I am just writing 3 octaves of that E major chord. And in model A, the bass is of course going to have the root of the chord. There it is. And in model A, the tenor is going to be a third above it. So there it is, G sharp. To put this chord in closed position, that now gives me my octave ceiling. No note of the chord that I use in this spacing is going to be, every note is going to be below that G sharp an octave above. But you do need to know which G sharp that is. That G sharp there is the G sharp an octave above that one. And this is where it gets tricky, like knowing the register. But that's the G sharp that's below middle C. That's the G sharp immediately above middle C. So if you use middle C as kind of a reference point, you can see, well, that's the G sharp, that's the first G sharp above middle C. That's the first G sharp below middle C. Like I said, if you start seeing yourself spacing your chord this way, again, I got to get my glasses off so I can see the button to erase. If you're thinking that's your octave ceiling, you're going to have the soprano and alto too high. Chances are you're thinking that G sharp and you're going to write those B and E's. And you can see, no, that's way too far away from the middle C. That's not where my octave ceiling is going to be. So the octave ceiling is determined by where the tenor is. And then it's just a question of going, okay, so I need the B and the E. So that B is there, the B right below middle C, and then that's the E. And you can see that's now below that octave ceiling. I'm going to give these their stems: soprano up, alto down, tenor up, bass down. When it goes down, it's always on that side of the note. When it's up, it's always on that side of the note. And now I can see that that chord is nicely spaced. It's very dense. You have all of the tones. Now, when we go into model B, all we're going to really do is start widening the distance between the tenor and the bass. And the rules are going to stay the same. So here we go, model B. So the tenor is not going to be on G sharp. It's going to be on B. I'm going to keep the bass where it is. This was model A. Here comes model B. So now the tenor is on B. And I can see that the remaining tones are the E and the G sharp. You don't have to do the octave ceiling. I can see there's the E, there's the G sharp. I can check it. That's the B right below middle C. So the octave ceiling would be the B above middle C. And I can see that that's a nice closed position as I see where that octave ceiling is. The octave ceiling is just kind of a way to make sure that you've got them everything in the right register. Now we'll do a model C. For a model C, you're going to have the distance of an octave. Notice what'll happen. My tenor is starting to get quite high. And as that tenor goes up, that's starting to push the alto and soprano notes up into that slightly higher register. So all these chords start, sitting in certain registers. This is a more easy octave ceiling to see. There's that E above middle C. That E and that E are the same, so that's where the octave ceiling is. You just have to start getting comfortable recognizing between bass and treble clef where that octave ceiling is. And I need the G sharp and the B. And that's going to be my alto and my soprano. That's C. And then the final one is going to be a model D. And you'll see that model D can exist a little bit lower in register if I put the E all the way down here, because model D is going to be an octave. There's the E above it. That's this one, plus the G sharp. I'm bringing the whole chord down. I could have written it in the original up there, but it would be very, very high. I'll show you what it looks like. And there's the B and the E. So now I'm back to this register. If I kept it up here, that's fine, but notice that tenor is going to be very, very high, and then that's going to push the alto and soprano to that register. Either one will work. It'll sound like this: model A, B, C, and then the D. I brought it down here, or I can go all the way up here. There it is. Any one of these can be activated to form an accompaniment: model A, model B, model C, model D, or brought down the octave. So those are 4 basic spacings. Like I said, what you don't want to do is something like this. Get to it in just a moment. You do this, notice this is too far away because these are in the upper register, this is in that register. You've split your chord and you don't want to do that. So don't. It gets too wide there. So you do want to just control and respect the register. All right, so I will take some questions on that. If anyone has any. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to bring it all together. All right, the key for today is E major. Now I'm going to write a bass line, and you can take some staff paper and you can go ahead and copy this bass line down. And this is the day we're going to put it all together. So the bass line is going to start on E as a half note, and then it's going to go down to B. And then it's going to go up to C sharp and down to G sharp. Then it's going to go to A and down to E, then back to A and up to B. And then I'm going to put a repeat sign. These 2 little dots mean that when you see this, you're going to repeat to the beginning. So it's going to loop. So let me go ahead and play you that bass line. It's a well-known bass line. This is the bass line to the well-known works, the Pachelbel Canon, which if you want, you can go ahead and Google a YouTube performance of it. There's many, 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 many performances of the Pachelbel Canon. I'm going to write up here what chords you're going to use to harmonize that bass line. They're all root position chords. So E major, B major, C sharp minor, G sharp minor. These are all chords that live in E major. A major, E major, A major, B major. So those are the chords we're going to use. You need to figure out a couple of things. We need to figure out the Roman numerals to use, that what Roman numerals are those chords. And we want to start choosing some spacings for these chords. Now, I will put these up as a sheet for you to print, but today I'm going to give you the models, but eventually you want to start to learn which models to choose, what are the best models. And I'm going to give you a couple of pointers about that. When you're choosing a model, if you use the same model throughout, in other words, let's say I decide I'm going to use model B, and let me change my pen color here. Let's say you want to use model B throughout. So this doesn't mean the chord, this is the model. So you're going to use model B throughout. If you do that, you're going to get an effect known as parallelism. And what that means is that all the voices are going to be moving in the same way because you're choosing the same model, model B. So everything is moving exactly the same to get to the same model. And we'll talk more about parallelism and the other kinds of motion types we have. This is all going to be in parallel motion. And parallelism produces a sameness that sounds a bit like a factory approach to the chord. So think assembly line, everything's the same. So it's like, okay, you've just created a factory that is just churning out model Bs. Model B, model B, model B, model B. It'll work, but it has this distinct sound known as parallelism, and it seems like a factory approach. I did it wrong. Let me try that again. There it goes. Then the next one. And it sounds fine because the chords, one, are a beautiful sequence of chords. So the notes all make sense. Two, they're all very, very well spaced chords. They're all model B, so they have that resonant, beautiful spacing. But it's a factory. It's just producing model B. So we want a slightly different approach to our choices. So for a more musical effect, rather than this kind of factory assembly line approach, we're going to choose a different model. And so the way to think about it is we're going to do a custom built spacing for each of our chords. And that means we have to choose a different model. Now, not all models are the same. Some models are going to work better in our choices than others. And so I'm going to go ahead and tell you the rules. And like I said, I'll put this all up as a PDF file for you to print out for the rules. But here's your guidelines for finding the best choice of model. So generally, the best choice is one where the voices move the shortest distance possible. Now, I'm not going to go into too much detail about that because we're going to solve this, and then we're going to see what I mean by this. But in general, you want to take a look at what your soprano line did. What did your alto line did? What did your tenor line did? And you want to make sure that they're going in relatively small distances. So the art of making a good choice is what is known as voice leading. So the way to wrap your brain around that term voice leading, we're choosing a good model that does good voice leading. And that's, you know, you think, well, where are the voices going? Where are they leading to? How do the voices lead into the next chord? And it's likely you've made a good choice if your soprano, alto, and tenor lines move as follows. If in the voice, whether it's the alto, soprano, or tenor line, retained the common tone, the note that is common to both chords, the one you're coming from and the one you're going to, well, that is the shortest distance possible. It stayed on the same note. So that's a good indication you're making a good choice. If you find that your voice is moving either up or down by step, well, that is the next shortest distance after the common tone, after staying on the same note. And that's another indication that things are going well. And finally, the voice could move by a third, and that's the next shortest distance after a step. If all your voices are doing those three motions or a combination of those three motions, you probably have found a good model. You may notice that, and you'll get and then when we look at the individual lines, you'll see they're very smooth and singable and have what we call good voice leading. If your soprano, alto, or tenor lines move in a distance larger than those, larger than the common tone, the step, or the third, it means you have gotten something that doesn't need to be that leapy, and chances are there is a better solution, one that is closer that you haven't found yet. And so you haven't done your job as a good voice leader. You haven't found the better, closest spacing of that chord. Note the bass line, and you can see in the bass line, see how the bass line starts right off by a leap of a fourth? That's, you know, the bass line is inherently going to be more leapy than the tenor, alto, and sopranos. So the bass line is not what we're looking for. Here's a nice stepwise motion in the bass line, followed by another leap, step, leap, leap, step. So the bass line is always going to be a little bit more jumpy than the alto, tenor, and soprano lines are going to be. And that's okay. It's really when we're dealing with voice leading, we're looking at what is going on in what we call the upper three voices. So let's go ahead and do the first one in model E. An E major chord in model B. We already know what that is. There's the distance of a fifth between the tenor and the bass. So I have, you know, here's a way you can do it without the chord tower. You can always do the chord tower, but here's a way to do it without that. So there's the E in the bass. I know the distance between the bass and the tenor is going to be the fifth, and that gives me the B. And then I know that in essence, in any well-spaced chord, I will have all three tones of the chord in those upper three voices, meaning between the alto, tenor, and soprano line, I'm going to have an E, a G sharp, and a B. I already have a B in the tenor, and I can see where the octave ceiling is. So I know I need the E and the G sharp. Now notice I didn't write the G sharp in because I am in a key signature of 4 sharps. So there is my E major. So the next, and of course the Roman numeral is Roman numeral 1, the tonic chord. All right, the next note, the next chord is B major. And now if you're wondering what the notes are, well, remember you're in the world of E major. So if I write the scale, this shows me, first of all, any chord with B as the root is going to be a 5 chord. So I'm going to the dominant. So I'm beginning to reveal what the harmonic formula is for the Pachelbel canon. Right. And I know the notes of the B major chord are going to be B, D sharp, and then the next third after D sharp would be F sharp.
Professor?
Now, yes.
For the first chord, it's E. You're saying it's E, E, G sharp, B back to E, right?
Well, it's E in the bass, B in the tenor, and once I determine that B in the tenor, that's going to force the alto to be on E and the soprano to be on G sharp.
Oh, because you're okay. Sorry, I was thinking model A, or the original spacing.
Nope, I'm going to be in model B. Okay. Now, I don't want to choose model B for the next one, and you can see the staff, right? Just making sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So if I do model B, notice what's going to happen. The tenor is going to go down to the F sharp. That's going to put the alto on the B and the soprano on the D sharp. Now, a couple of things to note. Note everything is going in the same direction down. Note everything stayed, in essence, went the same distance down. This went down a fourth. This went, the tenor went down a fourth. The alto went down a fourth. The soprano went down a fourth. Everything is, like I said, a factory clone approach. Everything is going down the same distance. It's not the closest model because everything is a distance of a fourth, which is larger than our third step or common tone. So it's going to sound nice and sonorous, but it's not going to, it's going to have this kind of factory approach. We can have a closer model, a better model choice. And I'm going to show you what happens when we do a different model. So instead of model B, I'm going to do model C. And careful, the purple ones are the model you're using. The red ones are the chord you're using. So I know it's a little confusing. So a model C, let's see what happens when we do a model C choice. So model C is always the octave. So now my tenor is on B. That forces the alto to be on D sharp and the soprano to be on F sharp. So the tenor voice will be on B. And notice what has happened. I'm drawing a little dashed line there. That is what we call the common tone. So remember, between an E major scale or chord, there is a B. And in a B major chord, there is a B. It is the common tone. And when I place that in a model C, the tenor voice stays on that B. It retains the common tone. It did not move. So this is already a closer choice of model. The tenor did not have to leap a fourth or larger. It just stayed. And notice what happens next. The alto is going to go to D sharp, and that means the alto line is stepping down by one step to D sharp, and then the soprano line will step down to F sharp. And so that is a closer, smoother model. Everything is either going down by step or being retained as a common tone. And the sound is now like this. Here's the soprano and alto voices. Smooth, da, 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 da. Here's the tenor, da, da. Just staying, da, da. Very, very smooth, a much more custom-built approach than just the factory churning out Model Bs, and it works. All right, so let's go ahead and try what happens if we go back to Model B for the next chord. Because even though I used Model B once, I can use it again. We had Model C in between. If I start going BC, 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 I'm going to get what's called a sequence, just the same spacings. So I may want to try and break it up a little bit more after that. But right now we can go back to Model B and see what happens. So first of all, the chord is going to change from the B major. It's now going to be a chord built on C sharp. So that's the sixth chord, C sharp minor, one of our color chords, E and G sharp. Now, I'll go ahead and do it the other direction. I'll build the chord in a Model B without using the chord tower, but then I'll just make sure that I have the right notes by going and looking at the chord tower. So I know Model B is going to go again, be the distance of a fifth between the bass and the tenor. So that's C sharp is the bass. So the tenor is going to be on the G sharp. Now, the first thing I notice is the distance of B down to G sharp is a third. B, skip A down to G sharp. So I'm looking at the melodic line the tenor is forming as I observe what's going on. So a distance of a third is fine for good, smooth voice leading. I don't want to go any larger than a third, but this will be fine. And now I can kind of see that my octave ceiling is on that G sharp, and I need the E and the C sharp. So the E would be in the soprano, and the C sharp would be in the alto. And okay, I noticed that a couple of things. One, the tenor went down a third. The soprano, F sharp to E is by step. D sharp to C sharp is by step. I can see that these are all going down smoothly. Tenor and, alto and soprano, all the way back to the beginning. E and G sharp, D and F sharp, E and C sharp. So they're, and the tenor. Put it all together with the bass. So that solution is nice and smooth. Now I don't want to just start going in a pattern. That's going to be what we call a sequence of predictable spacings. I want to mix it up a little more than that. So I'm going to go ahead and give you the remaining chord models to do. And you're going to go ahead and solve them and email me your solutions. And then we'll solve them as a class. So let me go ahead and show you what the remaining chords are going to be. And I ran out a little bit of time, but that's okay. We'll get this done. So the next one you're going to do is a model D. Then and you're going to figure out the Roman numerals as well. So what are the Roman numerals? And what are the chord spacing? So D and C. This is going to be a model B, but it's going to be extra wide. And what I mean by extra wide is instead of model B means that you would have the distance of a fifth in the tenor, but we're going to put it as the distance of a fifth plus an octave. So sometimes the distance between the bass and the tenor will get wider than is normal. So this will be a model B because it's going to be a fifth, E to B. It's just that the bass is going to be down an octave below. That's okay. Build your model B off of the tenor that I've written there. So it's nice and warm. This will be a model D, and then we'll end on a model C. So notice we didn't use a model A, but model D is very much like a model A. It's just an extra wide model A. So we've used 3 of the 4 spacings. And this, you should observe when are common tones being retained, when are things going up by thirds or steps. You'll know something went wrong if you see something larger than that in your individual voices. You can do it by either constructing the chord tower, and again, I'll go back to the 6th chord. We can see the bass is on C sharp, the tenor is on G sharp, the alto is on C sharp, the soprano on E. So I can see that that's a nice model B. I've done it correctly. Whether or not you want to do it as chord towers, or you have a method that is working that determining the distance of the tenor, visualizing that octave ceiling and getting the other chord tones done, put in. Those are your choices about what is your work habits. So let's go ahead and do this. It's 11:11. Go ahead and take 10 minutes to work on it as far as you can get, and then email me your results, a little scan or a photo of it, and I'll see how far you got and how you did. And then in the last few minutes of class, we'll kind of start to solve them and see how they go. All right, get to work. I am right here. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'm happy to answer any questions or if you get stuck. Otherwise, get to work, get as much of the chord spacing as you can done. And I do require that email to come by, in 10 minutes. I'll tell everyone to stop and go ahead and email me what they have. I'm going to stop the share for just 1 minute, then I'll share it again. So give me 1 second. All right. Let me go ahead and share again. Like I said, if anyone has any questions, use your microphone. I actually think when I'm sharing, I cannot see the chat for whatever reason, because of the way in which this computer seems to be sharing the PowerPoint slides. Actually, I can share the chat. The way I had been doing it, it couldn't, but I think it can in this. Whoops. Sorry. Sorry, one sec. Oh, frustrating computers. Oh, computer, what have you done? All right, there it is again. And yeah, for some reason, I won't be able to see the chat. So if you have a question, go ahead and put it in the, use your microphone.
Professor, I don't really know how to start with this.
All right. So we're on the G sharp minor chord is next.
Yeah, so
So
we're using model D for that.
Use model D.
Okay, and then.
And observe what happens with the voice leading. You should get good voice leading.
Okay.
And then for the A major chord, you'll use model C. For the E major chord, use model B, but as I said, you'll put it in that kind of wide spacing. Then the A chord will be model D, and then it'll end on a model C for that final B chord.
Professor,
yes.
what do you mean by model B and model D?
If you don't know the models, they're in a unit that we covered. So
I'm just very forgetful. I'm sorry, I must have forgotten.
So model, sorry, kept on doing that. Here were the models. I'll do it this way. I'll show a C major chord and show the models, but you'll have to go and review because at this point we got to know those models. If you're afraid of the models, it's going to be the rest of the semester is going to be very, very scary. So you want to start getting comfortable with the models, but I'll show you very quickly the 3 or the 4 models.
Okay.
These are of closed space chords. This is the C major chord. So we're spacing them in 4 voices. So what I've done is these are in 3 different registers, or they're going out 3, and so model A will be like this. The bass is always going to be the root of the chord because right now we're just spacing root position chords. So A, B, C, and D. These aren't letters, these are just the model choices. So when we do, that's the bass. tenor, soprano, alto. So that's a model A. Bass, tenor is now getting wider, the distance between the bass and the tenor. Soprano, or sorry, alto, soprano. When we do model C, the distance is getting wider yet again, and the bass and the tenor are an octave away from each other. Soprano, alto, soprano. And when we do a model D, the distance is now an octave plus a third, alto, soprano. And so you can see how that distance of the tenor keeps on widening. So C to E was a third, C to G a fifth, C to C an octave, and C to E is a third again, but plus an octave. So it's, and then if we could keep on going, we would just keep on getting the same models, but the tenor and the bass would be just higher and higher away from each other.
Okay.
And this is what I was referring to as the octave ceiling. You have to make sure that you get these notes in the right register to be in closed position. And so that you're not choosing, for example, the C and the E's that are up there above that, or the G that's above that. No, 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 no. This is where the register is ending, you know, it has to be below that.
Okay.
So those are the 4 models. And so I've written the models in purple that you're going to be using for these chords. So we'll do that. All right, so it looks like there's a few questions. So what I'll do is I'll be here for the, you know, we've got 5 minutes of class remaining. So go ahead and work through, see how far you get. And then don't email it to me until you've gotten all the way to the end. And when you get all the way to the end, go ahead and email it to me. And then I'll print them up and we'll take a look at some of your, we'll take a look at your solutions and see how you did. But go ahead and start working through it now, and I'll be here taking people's questions. So yeah, so this is the, we're going to put it all together today. We're taking the pop labelings of chords, figuring out what the Roman numerals are, and now you're getting your hands into the work of figuring out the different spacings of these chords so that they connect in a way that makes sense. Right now, I'm giving you the spacings to use, knowing that those are going to produce a good result. As we go on in the class, you're going to have to start making your own choices for what models to use. What was my other one? That was it. It keeps on going. Like I said, you may find that you need to write individual chord towers for each one of these chords. Circle the notes that you're going to use, and then, you know, make sure that you have it right. I'll go ahead and do the G sharp minor chord. G sharp minor chord, of course, is going to be a 3 chord. So we can see that the progression started off on 2 of our very strong functioning chords, the tonic and the dominant. And then this progression, the Pachelbel progression, goes to the minor chords, 6 and 3. So the G sharp minor chord tower would, whoops, look like this. G sharp, B, and D sharp. How do I know those are the notes of a G sharp minor chord? Well, again, I'm putting it all together. Oops. I know that in E major. Sorry, I'll do it. I don't have any more space. I know that in E major, G sharp is the third scale degree, and then therefore it's B and D sharp. So this is what a chord tower would look like for that G sharp minor chord. The bass is on G sharp, that's already there. For model D, that would be model A, model B, model C, model D. An octave plus a third. So the G sharp that's an octave is there. So an octave plus a third is going to have the tenor voice on that B. And I can see that the tenor voice has gone up a third again. So it's a third. That's our largest of our small motions. You know, it's either a common tone, a step, or a third, but a third is fine. That's going to put the alto on D sharp. And I see that the alto, therefore, is going up from C sharp to D sharp. Notice one more thing I'll say about this. Then the soprano is on G sharp. So notice that the soprano went to the G sharp by a distance of a third. If you're not seeing that, you've got to look at the melodic third. E, F sharp, G sharp. We're looking at where the soprano line went from E to G sharp. Notice that when I'm doing this exercise, and this is what can really at first be like, whoa, what is going on? I am looking at two dimensions at once. The harmonic dimension, I'm looking at how the chord is spaced, but I'm also looking at the melodic dimension. How are those voices beginning to materialize? The soprano line, for example, starts on G sharp, steps down to F sharp, down to E, back to up a third to G sharp. Very singable and very smooth. La, da, da, da. The alto voice, E steps to D sharp, steps to C sharp, steps to D sharp, ya da da da. It's in a higher register. Ya da da da. Very smooth, very melodic. The tenor voice stays on the common tone, goes down a third to G sharp, and then back up to that B. La la da ya da da da. Everything is smooth. It's either a step, a stay, or a third. Put it all together, it's a very smooth. And if I get a texture, I could give the, soprano, tenor, alto, soprano texture. And you can hear that if your choice of chords work well, it's very easy to get good musical results out of it. So there's your G sharp. So that gives you the A, the E, and the A, gives you the model C, the model B, the model D, the model C. Just remember this model B is going to be extra wide. So in other words, it's going to be an octave plus a fifth. So it's an extra wide model B, but that's going to work better. Did that help seeing that? Lets you know, like I said, it lets you know exactly if you got your model D right. All right, I will take any further questions, but otherwise, you've got your task ahead of you. I'll send you an email to remind you of it. You're going to go ahead and finish this, choosing the model C, B, D, and C to round up this progression. And then you'll email me the whole of the assignment and I will take a look at it. All right, take a screenshot. Yes.
I don't know if you emailed me from this unit of all the models of my grades.
Oh, the ones with the chord towers?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I haven't gotten to that yet. I looked at the packet and I'll
Okay.
take a look at the chord towers this week.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
so everyone's gotten their packet back if they submitted one. And then, yeah, so in that chord tower exercise, you had the towers, the chords to space, and you started putting it into musical texture. So we're gonna like I said, connect it all together going forward, start to work with these models and create music.
Cool.
All righty. So everyone know what they're to do for, you're going to send this to me in an email.
Yep.
All righty, sounds good. Like I said, I'll stay. If you have any further questions, I'll take them. Otherwise, again, thank you for your patience. Sorry, I had to switch to the to this format. I like the other one better, but I don't know what's going on with the camera. So, but thank you for your patience with that, and I will see you next week.